Hey guys, it's Matt here. I promised that I would do a recap video for the month of June, and that's what we're going to attempt to do here today. So I want to start by looking at my TraderView account for the few months prior to June. Um, Anybody who has been following along, which is probably no one at this point, but you all, if you are, you know that I started with very small share size, literally one share. I was trading one share at a time because I figured, well, um, trading real money is different than trading in a demo account. I don't care what anybody says. For me, it was, trading real money means something, even if it's one share at a time, even if it's 20 cents, per trade, won or lost. It means something. And and if you care about the result that you're getting, it makes you trade differently, right? Whereas in a demo account, you can just be like, well, it's not real money, so I don't really care if I lose big, whatever. Um, Although you can also play a demo account and have it really care, because the idea is you want to find a style of trading that works for you. And if that's really important to you, then you'll care whether it's real money or not. But for me, it helped to make it real money, even if it was really low share size. So when I first started this back in March, um, a share at a time. Then I went to 2 shares. Then I went to like 4 and 5 shares. Then I went to 10 and 20, and uh, kept kept increasing from there. To the point where when through May I realized that okay, in June to I'm gonna need to get a different account. So I started in a Thinkorswim account, a cash account, where you wait for your buying power to settle basically every other day. Um, I had enough that I could, especially in the beginning, I could trade every day without a problem. And that's when, through May, I was taking large enough share size per trade, and and on high enough price stocks that my buying power became an issue a few days in May. And I realized, okay, I'm going to need a margin account, and that's when I switched to the CMEG account. Um, so anyway, I wanted to just go over in TraderView, and this is gross profits. I don't have TraderView set up to take out commissions. It didn't matter in Thinkorswim because there were no commissions or fees or anything like that. With CMEG there are. So in March, my total profit and loss was $7.09, which I threw one hell of a party with that. So that was a good time. And so in April, as I increased share size, my total gain loss was 1188. Total gain, I should say, because it's not a loss. And so in May, it jumped to 55. Okay. And then we can just do this. For CMEG, I have to probably limit it to just June here. It was 90 total gain. It was a pretty rough month, actually, for me trading-wise. I'd been really consistent from March through May. Just taking a lot of bottom bounces. I'm trying to come up with a good name for it, bottom bounce. I think I called it bottom bounce Betty a couple of times, or the dump and chase, which is a hockey term, because when it dumps, you chase it long real quick on the bounce. So anyway, I've been taking a lot of those, and it was working really well. And then when I first got into the CMEG account, I just started trading like a jackass. It just messed with my head. I ended up, what I figured out was, in order to outrun commissions, or in order to make the commissions worth it, I had to be trading at least 300 shares, which was quite a jump from where I was in the Thinkorswim account at the end of May. I think, trading like 80 shares at the most on my largest position size. So to go from 80 to 300 is more than it's more than doubling, right? It's hell, it's more than tripling. And so uh, it was quite a jump, and I kind of had this feeling in the beginning of June, like you need to you need to make the monies, like because you're gonna have platform fees and you need to outrun all of that. And it definitely affected my trading. Like I started chasing breakouts. That's not something I did from the beginning of March all through the end of May. I never chased a breakout once. Um, and and then here I was like, oh, well, it's about to break out. Maybe I'll just chase it. And not only is that just not my strategy, but then also because it's not my strategy, I didn't really have set rules about like, okay, well, where am I going to stop out and how am I going to manage it if it goes against me? And it was just so stupid. Uh, so I took some losses in the beginning of the month that were just stupid and ridiculous, right? And so overall, I mean, it still ended up gross up $90, which, when you look at the past couple months and the way it was progressing, this is a decent step in the progression. Um, so if we, I'm trying to think if I can go back and show specific trades. So I took two huge losses. Actually, we can go to the overview page here. I took a loss here. I forget which stock that was. Um, and then this one was Wafu, I think it must have been. Maybe this was Wafu. Anyway, what date is this? No, Wafu was on the 12th, I think. No, that's not making sense. Anyway, I took two big losses at the beginning of the month that put me in the hole here, as you can see. Um, and then that's when I said, okay, you know what, this 300 share thing and chasing these big size. Although the Wafu trade was interesting because it was actually a 50. It was only 50 shares, but I entered multiple times, and so that was just a legit big loss. My biggest ever, per share loss, and my biggest ever loss. So um, we can go look at that later. That was this day, I think. But anyway, after that, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to size down. I'm going to not give a shit about outrunning commissions and trading large enough size to compensate for those. I'm just going to look at my gross profit and loss, and I'm just going to eat the commissions for this month and just get back to consistency. Which you can see once I made that decision, this is what my P&L curve looked like: slow and steady up and to the right. Right. That's what we want to see. Um, this was fun. This part was fun. This part sucked a little. This part was fun. This part sucked a lot. This part, whatever. This part sucked a lot again. And then all this was just like, okay, this is how I feel comfortable through all of this, right? Um, and so now that I'm back here, I'm working on increasing share size. So some of this was with 50 shares. I started taking some 100 share position sizes here toward the end of the month and into July. I keep forgetting now I'm a week into July. Um, so so this is all last month. But anyway, I'll skip through this stuff. This is probably boring for you guys. It helps me to think through it though. So whatever. But what did I flip over here to show you? So I ended up fighting back, and my per share gain is up. I'm positive there. Um, I use this kind of as a benchmark. It's not perfect because it doesn't take into consideration your share size positioning, right? So you're like, which is an important part of trading, if you're not aware, right? Because if you go into a riskier trade or you're trading a stock that happens to be whipping around a lot, and you take your normal share size, whatever your biggest share size position is, let's call it 300 shares or 1,000 shares, whatever. If you take that and it goes against you, you're going to lose big, right? Whereas you say, okay, this one's whipping around a lot, so maybe I'll cut down to, instead of 1,000 shares, I'll only do 500 or even 100 shares to start, and then maybe I can add to the position later if it goes for me, or and you kind of mitigate your risk that way. Obviously, there's not as much potential upside either, because if it does go in your favor, you'd rather have 1,000 shares versus 100 shares. But the the more I do this, the more I realize that the name of the game here is not losing your ass. It's to be able to come back tomorrow and play again. And so anyway, this kind of doesn't consider those sort of decisions, but it does tell you whether on average you're winning or losing, right? Whether you're making the right trades or not. So you can see at the end of the month I was almost 80% winners, and that's pretty good. I'd like to see the average winner and average loser be a little closer together, but again, I took those two big losses, and then a lot of my winners toward the end of the month, when I was consistent, were smaller because I had sized down, right? So I had some big losses in the beginning. Um, we can look at those in a second here. I'm gonna go to the trade view, and we'll just look at my biggest losses. And so anyway, that's, all of those small wins at the end of the month are going to bring this average winning trade down. And since I didn't take any losses almost at the end of the month, you'll see that in a minute too. Um, yeah, there's those big trades are still going to bring this average way down or up, depending how you look at it. Larger. So really quick, actually, look at this. It's kind of funny. So the 19th was my last loss. And then when you go to the next month, so the next week, the last week and a half, so what is that, 5, 6, 7 trading days, I went 9 for 9 to end the month. 170 bucks the last 7 trading days. So that was good. In fact, even after, let's go to the 15th. So after those 2 big losses, when I started just getting my head out of my ass and trading well, this is what the stats looked like. So halfway, the last half of the month, from the 15th on, I was up almost at 90% win rate. Again, that really doesn't mean anything by itself. Your win rate can be awesome, but if your losses are huge and your wins are really small, you can still end up negative, right? So I love when people talk about win rate by itself, like it's important in either direction. Some people are like, your win rate doesn't matter. Well, yeah, it does, actually. And then some people are like, win rate is all that matters. No, it doesn't. It matters what your win rate is in conjunction with your average win and your average loss. That's what matters. You put those numbers together, you find out whether you're profitable over the long term or not. So anyway, you can see here the average win and the average loss were much closer together, right? A better ratio there. It's like a 2-to-3 ratio. That's cool. We like that. With a 90% win rate, yeah, that's going to work out, right? Per share gain, 20 cents, 270, 250 up here. I mean, that's, man, if I could have put together a whole month like this, we'd be making a different video. And what a fucking party that would be, right? Those are jokes, guys. So anyway, I made $200, 270 bucks last half of the month, which makes me a rich man, right? Okay, so let's look at the trades view. And nope. Oh shit, I wanted to go back the whole month. Sorry guys. So my 2 biggest losses were this one on Wafu and this one on Mist. Right. Mist was, I believe, 300 shares each. Let's take a look at it, because I like looking at how bad I effed up. Yeah, so this was 300 shares here, and then 300 shares again, and then it gave me a decent exit up here to just take the loss and eat it, and I didn't take it because I'm a schmuck, and so I ended up having to get down here. That was nasty, and then Wafu was particularly. So I jumped in here, thought this was just pulling back, it flushed, thought I would get another bounce here, which it sort of did under this next candle, but not like I was expecting it to. So I had entered here again, and then it just dumped. It got halted here, and I mean, this was just this is, like I said before, this was my worst per share loss, and then also my biggest loss overall ever by far. So anyway, those were the two big losses that I took. You know, again, they were in the beginning of the month. This one's a legitimate loss. I can't like explain this one away because per share it was huge. This missed trade, there were a couple things there. One, it was not a stock I should have been trading to begin with. One, it's not really in my bread and butter price range. I do better over $10, although Wafu was over $10 here when it started and ended up under it by the time I got the hell out. But I do better on average in the above $10 price range. Mist just it wasn't moving the way I wanted it to. It was a bad trade. I think that day, if I remember correctly, I was just like I was frustrated and kind of just wanted to take a trade at the end of the day to ease that frustration. And it was frustrated at the market, not at myself, if I remember correctly. Um, so it was just one of those trades like you can learn from that and avoid that, right? Like I can learn from Mist and not do it again. I cannot take a trade on a stock that moves like Mist was. It was sluggish and slow until it dumped, and yeah, so I can say, all right, theoretically in the future that one won't be there. The Wafu trade, I had like three winners on it earlier that day, and then went for that one, and it just dumped on me. So that's just a legit loss. I can't explain that one away, um, and that's okay. That's okay. So let's do something else. So overall, anyway, I should wrap this up real quick. Um, I'm happy with the month. I got my ass kicked in the beginning, and I kind of smartened up and sized down and rallied back. I ended up profitable, right? Which this is a good sign. Again, with commissions, you're going to see in a second here. I'm going to show you my report from my broker. Um, with commissions, it's going to be negative with commissions and fees, but I don't necessarily care about that right now. Because as I continue to add share size, if I can stay consistent and keep my head about me, eventually I'll be outrunning those commissions. It's not going to be a big deal. So, okay, let's try this. There we go. So I'm going to put that image up there just so you can't see my account information. Not that I'll give CMEG credit and DAS together um, because both allow you to kind of show people things and not really give away much account information. Like the only thing I don't want you to see is my full name, just because I feel like I don't want you to know that. You can probably find it. I don't know if you Googled enough, but what the hell you want to do with it? But it doesn't like give any like sensitive account information that I can see. Uh, and in DAS Trader, you can put an alias on your account so that when you're showing your screen, it just shows up as asterisks instead of your account. Although you can't do that with a trading account. A training account or a demo account. The demo account comes up with a TR. This is all through DAS and CMEG. I don't know how it works with other brokers, if that's the same or not. But anyway, it always makes me leery when somebody says they don't want to show their account number when they're using DAS and they're making videos, because it's like, well, you could just do the asterisk thing. You can't do that if it's a demo account, which makes me think that they're using a demo account and they don't want you to see it. Anyway, that's a whole separate ballgame. I don't care. Um, Actually, I do care because I hate liars. I hate them. So anyway, you can see this is my this is totals by date. So this is kind of the report you get you can log into every day and see what what your trades were, then the commissions and ECN fees and all that stuff. You'll notice here a lot of times I do get rebates on the ECN fees, so that's been nice. I mean, to get a little bit of that rebated. Obviously, as you size up, that'll be even better. So let's just scroll down here to the end of the month. So you can see that, where am I looking here? Oh wow, we had 100 total orders. That's interesting. uh, 16,000 shares traded. So again, gross ended up $90 up, similar to what TraderView had, right? Um, Commissions were 295 total. Ouch. Uh, Total rebate on ECN fees there. You can see the other fees, SEC and TAF, and the miscellaneous fees. And so um, basically what it ends up there is, my total trading net was negative 205, and then there's $125 in fees. So total, I'm down 330. So I started the month with, I think you can see it. Oh, you can. It's behind the. It's behind my image, my Heidi image. I started the month with 2985, and then you can see down here I ended the month with 2654. Right. So down 330 with, and most of that's, well, I mean it's due mostly to commissions, right? And that's the name of the game with CMEG. I mean, you're going to pay almost $3 for each order. So that's like almost $6 round trip if you're just in and out once each, right? And so for a scalping style where you're maybe not taking a true scalping where you're in and out very quickly and you're taking 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, depending on your, uh, you know, your style and the stock that you're trading and how much it's whipping around. The commissions are going to eat up a good chunk of that, especially depending on your position size, right? When I sized down and I was trading, 50 shares and I took 20 cents, it's a $10 trade with $6 in commissions, right? And then you take a small loss on top of that and more commissions and you're negative for the day. Whereas in Thinkorswim, that would have been a decent, not a decent day, but an okay day because it would have at least been positive, right? So, um, anyway, that's kind of how this is going to work. So if you're thinking about going with CMEG, just do all that math. That's where I came up with the fact that I need to be trading 300 shares to outrun commissions because my average per share gain was 3 cents in from I think it was either in May or it was from March to the end of May. TraderView showed me that I was on average making 3 cents a trade. You do the math, and realize, okay, well, if you do that with uh, 300 shares, then you're going to outrun the commissions of 295 per entry and exit, right? Um, Now here's the thing: once you get to 1,000 shares, CMEG switches over to I think it's a half a penny per share commissions instead of a flat fee, um, which is interesting because unless you're really going to jump up into the thousands of shares, you are probably better off hanging out at like 950 shares because, I mean, again, this depends on your per share average, but you're probably going to do better there than switching over to um, than going to like 1,000 shares and paying the half penny. The math just works out a little better, works out in your favor there. And so the advantage, though, is when it's on a per share basis, you can have multiple entries and multiple exits. So maybe you try a scalp and run system where you know enter with 5,000 shares. It pops up your 20 cents. You take half off and you say, all right, I'm going to let the rest run and maybe stop at break even or something so that you can give it a chance to maybe it takes off and runs $3 or something and you get half your position size with that extra money, that extra $3 in it. That'd be awesome, right? But the thing is, if you do that with 1,000 shares, what's going to happen is you're going to enter with 1,000 shares. You're going to get the half a penny per share commission there. But if you would exit twice with half each, that's a 500 share exit, which you're going to get tagged with the 390 or the 295 or whatever the per order commission there, because it's based on the size of the order, not the size of the position total, right? So, um, So that's what I mean. You'd really have to be up into the thousands to really benefit from that. Um, so it's almost better if, unless if you're not comfortable or the account's not big enough to take a couple thousand shares, it's better to just hang out in like that right under 1,000. I actually thought it was like I could just do 999 shares and you know profits to commissions, it would work out better that way. If you're really doing well up at that point, it doesn't. The little bit of difference is probably not going to bother you. You're going to want to do 1,000 and then 1,200 and then 1,400 or whatever you're comfortable with adding to all that. So hopefully that all makes sense um, without actually showing you the math. There was one other thing I wanted to show. I thought this was pretty cool. You can do a trade. Oh, come on, log me out. Thank you. There we go. Trade performance, which is pretty cool. This is basically what TraderView tries to show you. Only here, all of the commissions and everything are. So it breaks it down by win-loss and your long and short, and then it breaks it down by time, which if you look over here at the totals, I should only trade the first 20 minutes of the day because I'm positive 480 there and I'm negative in the 350 range the next two 20-minute blocks. Part of that is those two big losses I took were in this time period. If you do this, let's see, if I cut it for just the last half of the month, um, then you can see that I'm positive. I'm still mostly positive in the first half there. Oh, that's just fees. Sorry. You can see my net is 86 in the first 20 minutes, and then I'm still positive though in the other time frames. Again, that's when I stopped trading like a D-bag and got my shit together. So you can see Mondays I'm apparently a freaking ace because I don't take losses ever. That's kind of funny for me. Although I only had 4 trades on Mondays, which means Mondays I'm very patient. I sit on my hands a lot. Same thing on Tuesdays. Only 4 winners, but took 4 losses as well. Anyway, you can see there Wednesday and Thursday I seem to trade a lot more. Although maybe they just were. I think there were more Wednesdays and Thursdays in the month of June. No, I'm lying. There are actually more Mondays than anything. But anyway, I thought this was pretty cool. A nice little breakdown. Shows you what days you do well, what time periods. That was pretty neat. And then breaks it down by stock as well. So pretty cool that you get access to all this, all these reports and stuff. So hopefully that helps if anybody out there who's looking to take a CMEG account. You get a little bit of a peek into the back end here of what they do. I also did this. I'll show you guys this really quick. So I exported one of those. You can take this off now. I think, yeah. I exported one of those reports and then just I made this. Oops. What am I doing? I made this custom column here, and what I did was just take the exit minus entry times 300 shares, just to show what if all of these were 300 share position sizes. Although that's not really necessarily the case because like that LaFu trade where there were multiple entries and exits, it doesn't really pan out. I'd have to do a little bit more manual math. But just showing what would happen if they were all 300 shares was, with rough math, was like 1140. I just like to do that because even though it's not, like I said, it's not 100% accurate, it just shows me like, okay, if you get back up to that share size where you're trading 300 shares on a regular basis, what that's going to look like profit and loss wise, and that I need to see that because right now obviously I'm actually in the negative. Take that image away again. I'm actually in the negative, net because I'm eating so much on commissions. So I need to see that if I just keep consistently adding share size, which is what I'm working on. This coming week, I think I'll be up to probably 150 or 200 shares in position size. So on good trades that I'm confident in and aren't whipping around too much. So anyway, I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, and I've been babbling on for a half hour now. So I'll probably cut this off. But anyway, I know this was helpful for me to just talk through and put together what I wanted to go over. Hopefully, it's helpful for some of you, especially like I said, that maybe if you're thinking about diving into a CMEG account, this gives you a little bit of insight into what it should look like as far as your average share size and average profit and loss. Just do the math on the commissions and know what the monthly fees are going to be for whatever platform you choose, and make sure you have all that, because if you don't, and I knew what I was getting into, and I knew that there was a possibility that I was going to have to size down and just eat a month or two of commissions and be negative, and maybe even have to um, fund the account a little bit more. I knew that. And so, if that's the case for you, know that going in, and, and know what to expect. So, anyway, any questions or comments, feel free to throw it in the comments, or if you can find me somewhere and reach out privately, by all means do that. I am doing this YouTube channel because I want somebody to be able to see the journey from the very beginning, because it seems like a lot of the other guys, I think there are some good channels out there, but some of them are, they just tend to show up once they're profitable, if they really are, and then you don't see the growing pains. And so, even some of my story, I mean, I've been trading different things for a long time. So I'm going to make a separate video about that too, about just kind of what it looked like before I got to where I started making videos. So, because I traded options, I traded. I'm drawing a blank. I traded small caps in a demo account a few years ago. Then I traded options, and I traded futures, the ES mini futures, and yeah. So I've kind of bounced around between, and swing trading, day trading, all kinds of things before I settled on this, and it seems to be fitting me now that I've put together something that seems like it's going to work, as far as a system goes. So yeah, that's why I do this channel. I don't really have any intention or ambitions to make this a separate income stream. I mean, if 10 years down the road it is, then maybe I'll eat those words. But that's the main reason I'm doing all this now. So anyway, questions, feel free to reach out, and I'll help out any way I can. All right, take care.